Each year, students on almost every campus in America are affected, contaminated by the growing philosophies of the radical left. And now, through use of today's new media, the left continues to spread its influence. Will we see a march toward European socialism? Or will 2009 mark the beginning of a conservative comeback? You can play a key role in what happens today and perhaps the next 40 years. The Leadership Institute. Campus Reform Now.
Hello, I'm Mike Pence. I'm a United States Congressman from Indiana. I've been a lawyer and a talk radio host, but first and foremost, I'm a conservative. Like you, I believe in limited government and fiscal discipline, and in an America strong enough to defend itself from those who would do us harm. That's why I'm so pleased to have a moment to speak to you today about Morton Blackwell and the Leadership Institute. Like me, Morton is concerned about the future of conservatism in America. He's especially concerned that so many young people today seem to be lined up with the left on major issues. Just a few years ago, a majority of young people supported Ronald Reagan for president. Today, the situation is very different.
What started out as an improbable journey, where nobody gave us a chance, was carried forward, was inspired by, was driven by, was energized by young people all across America.
It was almost entirely a one-sided organizational effort which was extremely skillfully done, targeted to the current generation, which get their communications not from newspapers and television, but online through a wide variety of very popular and increasingly popular mechanisms. They employed these things and these techniques. The conservatives did not.
We're still watching television. We're still reading books. But tens of millions of young people are communicating in a completely different way. The left understands this. That's why the left spent the money to learn how to communicate with young people, and look at the end result.
What I'm most fearful of right now is that conservatives are losing a generation. All you have to do is look at the success of Barack Obama's presidential campaign. Look at the online internet donations, the low-dollar ones that fueled all these new people into the movement because simply he was available online. He's building a massive movement online, and we need something to counter that immediately.
If conservatives lose this generation, then conservative values will never control the House, the Senate, or the presidency going forward. Adding young people to the Democrats and the liberals' already strong positions in some other areas would be fatal to modern conservatism.
As you know, the current generation voted overwhelmingly for the left in the last election. And history tells us that once a generation locks in a voting pattern, they'll tend to keep that pattern for the rest of their lives. Morton Blackwell knows, as I do, that unless we challenge their hold on today's youth, the left could rule America for an entire generation.
It's been a deliberate effort on the part of the left to use the campuses as left-wing indoctrination centers. It's no coincidence that 2/3 of the college-age people in America who voted for Barack Obama. The campuses turn people to the left.
Well, if you're a conservative on campus, everything is arrayed against you. Your fellow students, most of them are liberal. Your faculty is liberal and probably bullying so. The publications are liberal. The administration is liberal. Probably the surrounding towns where you are liberal. Everything is liberal.
This radical movement in our universities was kicked off as a result of the 1960s, when the way you got out of the Vietnam War, you either fled to Canada or you got a 2S, which was a student deferment. And radicals, they stayed in the universities, they remained permanent students, then got their PhDs. And then they discovered, hey, this is an easy institution, we can take this over, and that's what they did.
You don't have to look far to find liberal abuses on campus. At New Mexico State University, a humanities professor kicked a Catholic student out of class for defending his religion, while the professor ranted about the oppressive nature of Christianity. At the University of Maine, Orono, another leftist professor offered his students extra credit if they would burn a U.S. flag, burn a copy of the Constitution, or get arrested at a public demonstration. These are just two illustrations of the thousands of cases seen every year.
Seems to me we have a moral obligation to do the best we can to bring up a new generation who are deeply committed to the principles that made this country great.
It's remarkable how even a few students, trained and supported by the Leadership Institute, can make a difference on a college campus. Really, many of today's young conservative leaders have come from these Leadership Institute-supported programs.
It is so important to provide students with some kind of conservative viewpoint on campus. When I first got the idea that I might want to start writing for my own publication, which I had to create with the help of people from Leadership Institute because, I couldn't write for the paper because I didn't have the right degree at the time, they said, well, what do you have to wait for? You can go on the internet and do this. And I went to a Leadership Institute school and walked out with my own domain name and ideas for 10 stories. And the next week, I started writing them. But if I was not exposed to other people that did that, knew how to do it, had fun doing it, I would have never thought that I could.
For 30 years, no one has done more to inspire and train young conservatives than Morton Blackwell and the Leadership Institute. And the Leadership Institute is prepared and ready to win this young generation of Americans over to our conservative values.
And that's why the Leadership Institute is uniquely positioned to launch a three-part campaign to reclaim this generation called Campus Reform Now. The first part of this effort is to break the liberal monopoly on more college campuses through the Leadership Institute's National Field Program.
Each fall, through its National Field Program, the Institute trains scores of recruiters. They help conservative students organize groups and bring in conservative speakers to campuses. Campuses where the left is usually the only voice that's heard. They help students start conservative campus newspapers and many other activities that are designed to create a viable alternative to the left's dominance of our colleges and universities.
Now the Leadership Institute wants to build on that success by helping to organize an additional 500 campus groups in 2009. Part 2 of this campaign calls for the launch of campusreform.org, a pioneering effort to harness the power of the internet to reach conservative young people in the way they communicate today and organize them to fight the left on their campuses.
You and I are seeing a revolution in how people communicate. The internet is rapidly becoming the primary source of news for most Americans, especially young people. And as we saw in the last election, it's become a potent political tool as well.
The truth is that conservatives are using technology of the 20th century and liberals use the technology of the 21st century. They communicate in a completely different way.
I spent a lot of my time on my weekly appearances on the O'Reilly Factor just trying to explain what social networking is. It sounds kind of like this new term that's trendy in Silicon Valley. Social networking is basically just how people talk to each other. It is how they discover other people existing in other communities that think like them. And this is so important to political movements.
It's so important right now for conservatives to embrace this because we're going to be playing defense a lot. And if we're going to organize and rally our troops effectively, we're going to have to be in the places where these young people are gathering.
We know how to get on campus. We know how to organize students conventionally. Now the time has come for us to employ these new technologies which are so exciting to young people and apply them to the public policy process, apply them to the communication of ideas and the organization of conservative activities. It's the most exciting thing that's happened in more than a decade for the Leadership Institute.
CampusReform.org will provide an instant connection for young conservatives across campus or across the nation. And that leads us to Part 3. The future success of these programs will require dramatic increases in staff and workspace. Fortunately, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity has come along to cost-effectively double the Institute's workspace without moving.
If this thing expands as I expect it to, there's going to be marvelous opportunities to give more assistance to the conservative activities on college campuses across America. We are to the point now where a project the size of campus reform simply can't be accommodated in our building. And this magnificent opportunity came to us with a construction project that is next door to us on our block. And there are things that we could do that were of great assistance to the developers, and the end result of that is that we have contractual agreements with the developers that we are going to get the second floor of the big office building now under construction beside us.
Prime office real estate, worth $3.8 million in today's market, critically needed space just in time to expand the Leadership Institute's final programs. Available now for a third of its actual value. But seizing this remarkable opportunity requires a substantial payment due the first week of May, just a few weeks away.
If we can set up a way of communicating for young people to communicate with one another on the college campus level, it will revolutionize the world that we live in. The fact that the Leadership Institute is going to take the lead in that direction doesn't surprise me. That's what Leadership Institute does.
In my field of new media and online communications, we're constantly trying to embrace and engage these people who are conservative activists, who simply just don't understand the importance of the new technology. But the training programs that the Leadership Institute offers are so valuable because we teach people how they can use these tools.
Rather than making a phone call or chatting to campus, you will connect students with each other on other campuses, just as simple as sitting down with a computer. And so that's a really exciting thing to think about.
From political campaigns to journalism, from the internet to giving speeches and appearing on television, the Leadership Institute excels in giving conservatives the skills and the confidence to win.
There are millions of young people who are conservatives. They will get the strength and they will get the determination to win in these battlefields if they can communicate with one another.
No two ways about it. The incoming generation is large, important, and will be shaping the way we talk about politics for years to come. It is critically important that conservative activists and conservatives speak to and capture the imagination of young people. We did it before with Reagan. We can do it again.
This is just heaven sent to us, the opportunity to get the space that we would need, and then the opportunity to begin to use these new techniques which are spreading like wildfire among young people, to put them to use for conservative principles. This is truly an exciting time.
Will you help meet this important May deadline and seize this tremendous opportunity? And right now, thanks to a generous matching grant, your contribution can be doubled.
I think you'll agree that your past contribution dollars have been well invested in the Leadership Institute. Morton and the Institute need your help today to enlist and train young conservatives, and more importantly, to impart our conservative values to the rising generation of Americans. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all you do for the Leadership Institute and for the cause of conservative values in America.